Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. So it's a Sunday afternoon here, and my thoughts have been turning obviously towards beer because it's Sunday afternoon and we've had a big lunch. So I'm thinking a lot about craft beer actually. And one of the things I wanted to look at was trying to understand in the North American craft beer market, which state brews the strongest beer? And that's what I want to explore today. So the way I want to do this is I want to look at how to use Power BI in Microsoft Azure using MongoDB, connecting to MongoDB. And luckily enough, I actually have a data set that we're going to use. So if you look over here at Kaggle.com, there's a lovely beer data set here for 2,000 craft beers from the US, and it's quite a nice little data set there. So I've already taken the opportunity to load this up into MongoDB Atlas, and as you can see here, we have a cluster called MongoDB called Azure Power BI Test, and this is an Azure cluster running in Cardiff, UK West. It's a 3-node replica set, and it contains within it, if we look at the collections, this beer data set that I've already loaded up. Now, as it said, there's it's not a giant data set, but there is just over 2,400 documents in here. Each one is a separate beer, and they all have different breweries attached to them, so we can see what they are. And each brewery obviously has a state that it's that is brewed in. So that's good. Now what we can do here is we can start saying, okay, right, let us connect Power BI to this because it's Azure and we want to start using some Microsoft products. Let's try Power BI on this. So how do we connect Power BI? Well, the first thing we're going to have to do is go and download it, and you can get Power BI free for non-commercial use or just for a demo from the Microsoft site, powerbi.microsoft.com, and you can just go and download it here. Now, Power BI is going to connect to MongoDB using the new ODBC driver that MongoDB has released. So you can grab this from the MongoDB website, and if we do a search on the MongoDB website for ODBC, you can get a link to it here, download the MongoDB ODBC driver, and a nice blog post that explains how you need to use it. So what we do in order to get this running, first of all, I've already installed the ODBC driver as per these instructions. It's incredibly easy, it's just an install wizard. But we now need to open up our data sources and create a data source for MongoDB Atlas. So let us first of all go and type in data sources, ODBD. I'm using Windows 10 here. If you're using something else, it might be slightly different. But you need to find your data source administration panel, which is sitting here. Now then, I've already got an Atlas one in here that I was playing around with earlier, so you can see how we go about building it. So I'm going to add a new one, and in here, because of what you've installed, you should see the MongoDB ODBC 1.2.0 driver, and we're going to just use, you can use either the ANSI or Unicode driver depending on which one you need. I'm going to use the ANSI driver for today, I think. And then it's going to ask us for a data source name, so I'm going to just say MongoDB Atlas, and we're going to need to give it a server. At this point, we need to go back to our MongoDB Atlas installation, the Azure Power BI test, and we need to go back here, have a look at connect, and then connect our business intelligence tool. I should just point out actually that one of the things we've done here when I built this cluster was I've enabled the BI connector. Okay, BI connector, yes. All right, and this is what allows us to create a SQL layer on top of MongoDB that the ODBC driver can connect to. So that's already done. We don't need to worry about that right now. So let me just go back. But what I'm going to do is hit up connect, then go connect my business intelligence tool, and here's all the settings I need. So the host name, I'm just going to copy that to the clipboard. and then I'm going to pull up the data configuration tool, pop that in there, and then my port number is going to be 27015, 27015, and my username is Solar. There we go, and I should be able to just hit test. Connection successful. There we go. So that's connected to Atlas. So I can hit OK, and that's got a new ODBC connection in there. So that's all I need to do there. Close out as well. So that's done for the configuration. Now all we have to do is load up Power BI. So I've got that installed already, Power BI. So we can load that up. If this takes a little bit of time, I'm doing it live. I'm not cutting the video in and out. So there we go. All right. So what we're going to do now, let me just close this splash screen down. We're going to press on Get Data up here. And we're going to go to Other Sources, and we're going to find ODBC in here. And I'm going to click Connect. And this will then pull up a dialog with all the different ODBC data source names that we've got in place already. And one of these will be MongoDB Atlas, because that's what we just put into that configurator. And we hit OK. There we go. Now, in my test database is that American craft beer collection that we were just talking about. And I can just load that in. And that'll take a second. That is because I didn't choose the database. Let's just go back to Get Data, Other, ODBC, Connect, Excel file, and MongoDB Atlas, OK. Okay. So the problem there is not, don't save. The problem there is with the data connector. So data sources, let me edit this source here, configure, and we'll give it we'll specify the test database there. Okay, that's what we should have done. I told you I'm doing this live, guys. Okay, let's load up Power BI again. Close that down, Get Data. And this time, when I click on the ODBC driver and we select MongoDB Atlas from the list, it won't complain about not having a database. So we can select test, go in here, select the American craft beer dataset. Preview is evaluating right now. We can see the preview of the data. So that's all good. So now we can hit load. And that's going to load that in, and now we can start playing with it. Right, and if we look down here, these are the different, this is the data, the raw data itself. Okay, and we've got all 2,400 rows in here. And we can start saying, okay, let's start pulling up a bar chart here, say. Okay, bar chart, and we can say, right, these are my fields, so we can say, let's have number of ounces, say, or it's ABV we really want. We say, okay, let's have ABV by brewery state, something like that. Okay, but that's not looking right because we've got individual values there. What do you think is going on here? So I'll tell you what's going on here. The problem is that when we look at the actual data itself, if we go back to the data view here and we look at this field for ABV, the field for ABV is actually being represented as a string, not as decimals or floating point numbers. And the reason is because some of the fields are missing values. So because they're not zeros, it's assuming that's a string. Now, in Power BI, you should be able to reshape that data on the fly. But unfortunately, you don't seem to be able to. So the best thing that we can do here is, rather than change those column types in Power BI, let's go close down Power BI for now. Okay, and we'll go and edit that data very quickly, and we'll just show you how easy it is to clean up some of this data, because what's happened is the data set we downloaded is a bit messy, and we really need to just do a bit of cleaning on that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to load up Compass, MongoDB Compass. Here we go. All right, and here's MongoDB Compass, and here's our American craft beer data set. This is the one we were looking at, and we know that some of these ABV values are missing. If we look at the schema here, and let me just make this full screen. If we go down and have a look at ABV, you can see the vast majority of these are a number value, but some of them are a string, and that string value would be empty, an empty string. Okay, so what we should probably do is just try and get rid of those, and the easiest way to get rid of those is very simply just to create an aggregation. So we can do a $match match on ABV, where ABV, for instance, is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so that will then just filter out anything that is a value that's not to 0. You can't really see from the sample here, but that looks good to me. Then what we can do is just very easily do a $out, which will save those documents, and we can just say, okay, let's call this American craft beer ABV fixed, something like that perhaps, and then save documents. Right, so now if I go back to my test database and refresh, I should have American craft beer ABV fixed, which has 2,348 documents as opposed to the original, which has 2,410. So it's taken out a couple of those values just to make that, just to kind of clean that data up a little bit. So now if we go back to Power BI, just wait for this to load up. Chug. All right, here we go. Close that down again. Go get data. Other, ODBC, connect, Excel file, MongoDB Atlas. Right, and we've got the test database again. We need to refresh that. There we go. Now we've got American craft beer ABV fixed. All right, and it looks pretty much the same, except this time when we load it up, here we go. Now when we look at the raw data, the ABV column is now expressed as numbers rather than as a string, which is perfect because it means that we can now do a bar chart like this, and we can say, see, ABV here is now listed as a number, and we can query that against the state. Okay. And we need to say really that the ABV that we're interested in here is here, ABV We don't want to sum it, we actually want a value. Maybe we want to swap it with that. Brewery state. So here we go, the average, right. So this is it. So now what we're looking at here is the average ABV value of each state. And we can see that the strongest beers are brewed, would you believe, in Nevada. So if you fancy a good tipple and you want a nice strong beer, get over to Nevada, and that's where all the nice beers are. So that's a very simple demonstration of how you can get data from MongoDB Atlas running in Azure into Power BI using the new ODBC connector by MongoDB. I hope you found that useful, and if you like the video or you want any more, just give us a thumbs up below and hit the subscribe button. Until the next time, guys, thank you very much.